Hi everyone, welcome back to the Homestead. Y'all know that we live in Southeast Texas, just north of Houston, which means we get real winters here for like 2 days out of the year. And those 2 days are about to come right around the corner. Actually, tomorrow night, it's supposed to drop down to 17 degrees. And I know for those of you who live way up north and you have really cold winters, you're thinking we're a bunch of pansies, and you are correct. But we have way tougher summers than y'all do. So I think we kind of make up for it then. But right now, it's time for us to do a couple of little things around the homestead to help us to get ready for some actual freezing. So what we're gonna do is we have a lemon tree that we need to cover up, and a southern cherry tree that we also are gonna cover up. It's not made it through a winter yet, so I don't know how well it's going to do with the cold weather, but we're gonna try to cover that up and just make sure that it has a better chance. Also, our chickens are kind of exposed for the most part. They don't need to be really bundled up, but when it gets down to 17 degrees, they need to be a little bit more protected, especially those young ones. So we're gonna be doing a little bit of that today, and we're taking you along. Also, we finished clearing the tarp out of the garden, the woven wheat fabric, so we got it all rolled up and piled up here. We're replacing a lot of that. We kind of tried to save money. It was a couple of years ago. There were some complications with just supplies not being available, and so we bought some of that through Amazon. It was just the best that we could find available at the time. Normally, the woven wheat fabric will last a few years, but this one, we only got like a year and a half, 2 years maybe out of some of those. So we went ahead and pulled it all off. We rolled it up. We're gonna be, unfortunately, throwing that away, and so we're gonna be putting some new woven wheat fabric on our garden for this following spring. And I found out that either Grower Solutions is really the best place to get that. Also, Tractor Supply, they do have a really good brand, but it's only 4 feet wide. That's a story for another time, but yeah, that's part of what we're doing today, is getting rid of that woven wheat fabric that we're having to throw out. We don't usually put any type of a heat lamp or heater in with the chickens, just because if there's ever a power outage and they're used to the warmth, and all of a sudden you have a really cold night when you have a power outage, then they haven't had a chance to acclimate, and it could actually be worse for them. But recently we've gotten solar power, solar panels and solar batteries, and so even if we do have a power outage, we should be okay. So we're gonna go ahead, just with these young ones, because it is gonna get so cold, we're gonna go ahead and put a heat lamp in there for them, just for the 2 nights when it's gonna be like really cold. Also, we're gonna get some tarp, and we're going to tarp the outside of this little chicken brooder, little chicken, what is it, kennel? We're gonna tarp it up a little bit better to keep them a little bit warmer in there. Now, our bigger chickens, they're inside a different coop that we've actually built. It's built off the ground, so I really love the design. They have some space underneath it, so they're not sitting right on the ground. We have hay that we filled it up with, and it does have a couple of windows that stay open during the summertime or most of the year, just for air circulation. But right now, when it gets really cold like that, we're gonna go ahead and close those windows up, so they should be nice and toasty in there for the winter, or for, you know, the 2 days of winter that we get. So this is our little cherry tree. Now normally with cherry trees, you wouldn't have to worry about protecting them from 17 degrees. They really are strong enough to withstand that type of temperature. That's why most cherry trees do well in like Washington and Portland area. But this is a southern cherry tree. It's a specific variety. It's supposed to actually produce cherries for us down here in the south, which I never thought that I would actually try to plant a cherry tree in Texas, because they don't normally produce because it doesn't get cold enough. But this one doesn't actually do well with really, really cold. It's supposed to be weather hardy or frost hardy down to 30 degrees. So when it gets down to 17, I'm a little worried about it. It's not made it through a winter yet, so I don't know how well it's gonna do. But what we're gonna do is just cover it up with some sheets, and then just like regular bed sheets, and then put a plastic tarp on top of that. Now, if you're going to use any type of plastic tarp to cover up any type of winter vegetables to try to protect them from the frost, you have to really be careful. If it gets sunny at all during the day, it gets like a sauna inside there. You're basically creating a miniature greenhouse. So it can actually get too hot, even though it may only be 30 degrees outside, just because there's sun on it. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on this. If it gets sunny, we're gonna have to make sure that we come and pull back this plastic tarp, even if it's just a little bit to let it air out. But then in the evening, when the sun goes down, we're gonna cover it back up and keep them protected. I've actually done this with the lemon tree. We did this last year, and it made it through the entire winter. It's the first winter that tree has not died since we planted it like 3-4 years ago. So so far, good success. We're gonna try it again, and now last winter it was not as cold as this is gonna be. So we're gonna find out. It made it to, I think last winter was about 22, 23 degrees. This time we're gonna get down to 17, maybe even lower than that. So we'll let you guys know how it does. It's almost like the tree itself almost has 4 corners, doesn't it? Like it tells you, the branches just tell you, this is where I need to go. I hate punching holes in that part, but probably gonna do this. Not as cool. Plastic is really If you were with us last year around this time, you know that when we got ready for winter, for the freeze, what we did is we had 2 lemon trees here. This one we used the plastic tarp and the sheets like we're doing this time, and we put Christmas lights on it. The halogen Christmas lights, not LED. LED lights don't heat up, so that won't do you any good. But if you use the old-fashioned halogen ones, those get a little bit warm, just enough to keep a little bit of warm air in there. We had a second lemon tree that we actually just put a frame around it, like a fence frame, and then filled it up with just dead leaves, hoping that that would insulate it enough. I had seen it done on TV, on YouTube before. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm sure, there are people who swear by it, who do that to their trees every year. It did not work for us. That poor sucker died a horrible death. So springtime, when I went in and covered it, everything was just dead down to the ground. This one, however, did just fine. So moving forward, we're gonna keep doing this in the winter time. Just use those halogen lights, bed sheets, and then the plastic tarp, just like we did for the little cherry tree. We're gonna do that for our lemon tree, and hopefully, maybe this next year, we might actually get some lemons. Haven't had lemons on it yet, but we'll see. Maybe this is the year, right? The last thing that we're doing today is taking all of the hoses off of the spigots, and we're going to wrap those spigots with towels. The pipes are already insulated. We've wrapped those with insulation and duct tape, so those are already fine. But last couple of years, we've actually ended up losing hoses and hose bibs because the water that got trapped inside there just expanded and it just ruined those. So this time around, we're gonna take those off. We're gonna insulate them really well. And for the next couple of days while we're watering animals, we're just gonna use water from inside. It's gonna be a little bit more work, but hopefully we're gonna save some hoses doing it that way.